ultimately, we didn't have a lot of improvement over the 2 years. He was eventually able to start using his arms a little bit, but not in any consistent way. And he couldn't use, like, he could not even operate a wheelchair unless it was a electric wheelchair that you could do with your hands. His brain function never truly came back to where it was prior to the accident. And because he had been in so many hospitals and care facilities, he started developing an infection of the stomach or intestines. I think it's C. diff. And that's a really nasty infection. And especially when you're somebody who is unable to physically care for yourself. And ultimately, after 2 years in that state and having that recurring infection, in 2016, he decided that he did not want to treat that infection again. And that is ultimately what led to him passing away. So, it was pretty devastating. Although I understand 1,000% why he made that choice. And I think it was the right choice for him. With his quality of life and the type of person that he was, it was probably the only outcome we could have had. But it was really challenging. I'll say that my husband, who's amazing, we changed our life overnight without knowing what was coming. We moved back to Columbus and kind of had to start over again. I did eventually finish school. I got my degree 2 months after my dad passed away, which was hard because that felt like something he should have been there for. And I wished he had been. I found a job. Actually, it was the job that I had mentioned prior that I got because it was so flexible and I just needed something like that. But ultimately it turned into a career and I loved that job. And, my husband and I bought a home in Columbus and made a new life and have done really well for ourselves. And a lot of good things came from this pretty horrifying situation. But, that's what happened. So that's the story. There's a lot more to it. As I mentioned before, my dad did have on again, off again girlfriend leading up to the accident. We learned pretty quickly once the accident happened that she was not a great person and she was not super equipped to handle the situation. And ultimately that led to her marrying my dad while nobody was around. And she took everything he had, his pension, his home, any savings that he had. She had his will changed, so my brother and I were not included in that. So there was the financial aspect, which honestly isn't even the worst part. I think the worst part of it is that she also kept everything that was sentimental that he had in his home. So, family photos. My dad loved Stephen King. He had the entire Stephen King book collection. I would have loved to have had that collection, but she kept that as well. And ultimately, my dad was cremated. And when they were ready to spread the ashes, she asked my uncle if he wanted to be part of it. And he said he didn't feel comfortable unless I was included, and she would not include me. So I don't have any of my dad's ashes, and I don't actually even know where they were spread. So that's our story. Thanks for listening.